right, day 530 of going live. Today, what we're doing is we're working on comparing and adding to our list of comparable sales. And here's why we're doing this, right? If you've been following what we've been doing, we've been adding properties that have been coming on the market for the last 12 months, that have been sold in the last 12 months, that have been sold in the last 3 months. And now we're also adding properties that are coming onto the market most recently. And the reason we're doing this now is because, one, we've exhausted the list of prior properties that have been sold. Okay, so now how do you stay on top of what's happening in the market? Okay, if you understand what and how interest rates are affected by the 30-year yield, let me share a few things. Okay, and this is really primarily for the BRRRR strategy, which stands for buy, rehab, rent, refinance, and repeat. And right now, let me show you where I'm looking at properties, right? So I'm looking at the Birmingham market. I'm looking at properties that are 4-bedroom plus, single-family homes at Midland Bradford for less than 7 days. And I found this property for $215,000. And I thought this would be a really good property as a ceiling because it's being sold at $139 per square foot. Look at the photos. I mean, this looks like a stellar property. I mean, they're not stainless steel appliances. It looks renovated. These are very, very above average finishes for the bathroom. And the property looks painted with great curb appeal. And also, I mean, I would still put a cage on HVAC. That seems a little dangerous. But for $215,000, this property is being sold for $139 per square foot. So I'm paying really close attention to this. Because if this property sells for this price, then now I almost have a new ceiling for 1,500 square feet because a 4-bed, 3-bath at 1,550 square feet, that's sort of my ideal size for a home that I'm looking at, especially if it's a 3-2 and I'm looking to add an extra bedroom and increase my rents. Okay. Now, here's why I'm noting down this property. Okay. So let's take down some of the details there on 1228 Oakwood Street in Birmingham, Alabama. I'm writing down this property. I'm writing down all the details there. And I want to track just exactly what's going on in the market. So I'm going to write down a 4-bed, 3-bath, 1,550 square feet. This property was built in 1977. This property is being listed for $215,000, which means that this property is being sold at $139 per square foot. This was listed 7 days ago, so that was 3,525. This is 10,000 square feet roughly. Is there a garage? No garage. No basement, no HOA. And I note down all the details, right? Bed, bath, square footage for all my properties. And then columns K through M, I also note down some specific details for this property in this neighborhood. Because, for example, if you're in Phoenix, almost every house has a pool. So if your house does not have a pool, when everybody expects there to be a pool there, because of the hot temperatures, then there might be a lower valuation assigned to your home. And then obviously I'm going to write down what neighborhood this property is in. So I'm going to go to my map on Redfin, click there, and just simply zoom out. And this is property closest to Kilo Springs. And this is above. And I write down a few comments above. Average kitchen, modern without stainless steel appliances. Above average finishes and bathroom, modern. No paint work or floor work needed. Now I have a general idea of how good this property looks like, right? Because I need to understand whether this property is going to sell. Because there's another property that was 2,244 square feet, which makes it $98 per square foot. That was just listed a month ago. Let's see if this property sold. This property is still on the market for $215,000. So the price lowered. So is this property going to sell for $215,000 when another property that's almost 700 square feet bigger is also being listed for the same price? Why not? Right? So now you have to figure out, okay, well, what do people prioritize? Because what's the ideal comp, right? The ideal comp is if I bought a property right next to this property and it was the same bed bath count, same lot size, same square footage, same year bill, same lot size, blah, 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 blah. But that's usually not the case, right? Because as you go across man-made borders like this highway, natural borders like these creeks, well, now all of a sudden you're in completely different neighborhoods, right? Birmingham is a very street-by-street type of neighborhood. So the chances of your ARV, your after repair value, being incorrect is very high. So why does this matter? For the BRRRR strategy, again, which stands for buy, rehab, rent, refinance, and repeat. The whole point of that strategy is so that, let's take an example. If you're able to buy a home for $30,000, 30, and you renovate the home for $40,000, 40, now you're all in, 30 buy, 40 to purchase, and now you're able to make that property worth $100,000. You just created $30,000 of equity between what you spent and what you forced in terms of appreciation. Well, now you can go get a 70% LTV, loan to value, DSCR, debt service coverage ratio loan for that home that's worth $100,000. So you can take back out 70% of $100,000, which is $70,000. So you can take that $70,000 out in the form of loan proceeds, not taxable, and get to use the same $70,000 and use it over and over and over again for the next property. That's the beauty of the BRRRR strategy. Because what's the alternative? The alternative is you put 20% down you save up money from your full-time job, you put 20% down, you buy that property, you hope that it appreciates, you hope that it cash flows, you wait to do it all over again. Because you have to save up money from your full-time job for the next 20% down payment. Now, I'm not saying you can't be successful doing that strategy. I'm just simply saying that it's a slower strategy. Because tons of people have created tons of wealth doing that, right? I'm not saying that's a bad strategy. But if you're looking to be scaling a lot faster and using those numbers, then, well, it's a whole different ballgame, okay? So you have to understand what's going on there. All right. So here we go. Now, the next piece of this property is, here's what we're going to do. Let's analyze this property now that we've got all these details. So now I know to refer back to this property and see when it's sold and someone get a fixer upper in this area. But if I were to analyze this property, right, $1,000. Let's go to affordablehousing.com and see how much it rents for. By going to the owner section, go to the market rent estimator, plug in the address, plug in bedroom count, I can see that the average rent for 25 units within a 1.65 mile radius is $1,504. That's right in line with what I've been seeing, $1,400, $1,500. So I'll give it a benefit out for $1,500 right now. Then I'm going to get my taxes and my insurance from right here. And my taxes for this property is $56. Great, very low. Insurance for this property is $167. So I'm going to do equals $167 times 1.2 because I'm adding a 20% premium because I'm expecting that investment property is going to have a higher premium simply because they are used as an investment property instead of a primary residence property. Right? That's why I'm adding and multiplying by 1.2 to add a 20% premium. Then I'm taking aside 10% of my rents every single month for maintenance. Okay. This is for in case I have a roof replacement in 10, 15, 20 years. Same for my HVAC, same for my water heater, right? I know those things are going to get replaced at some point. So if I don't set aside money right now, I will be underestimating my expenses, overestimating my profitability because I'm lying to myself. So don't be that person. Don't lie to yourself about how much you're making on this property, okay? Because there's so many gurus out there that will say, oh, my cash flow is $1,500 rent and my PITI is $1,000, so I cash flow $500. No, that's not how it works. You got to put in maintenance in there. So then I got 10% for property management, and I got 5% for vacancy. Here's what we got. Let's plug in our renovation. Let me delete this multiple by 3. I'm going to go to my rehab calculator spreadsheet right over here. For this property, I got $1,500 for the roof, just in case there's any issues there that I can't see from the photos. In row 46, I got $500 for some landscaping. And then I don't need to put in any appliances, so that's all set. I got 3 toilets that I'll put into high pressure flush toilets, so I don't have any clogged toilet calls, because I don't want that. I have high pressure flush toilets right now, and I've never got a clogged toilet call before, so I'm going to keep it that way. Because the last thing I want to do is do an emergency plumbing call, which costs me $200. Then I'm going to replace the toilet for another $200. I'm also just spending money now and prevent those issues. Then finally, I got an HVAC cage for the system to protect it, to make sure it doesn't get stolen. Because, man, I just had an HVAC stolen. That cost me $5,000. So please, please, please make sure you put that in place, okay? All right, so now, here's what we got. $5,000 for the rehab. So for my down payment, I got an F19 up to 25%. So my down payment is going to equals to B4 times F19. That's $53.75K. 2% closing cost, $1,500 for my renovations. My financing amount is going to be equals to B4, which is my asking price, minus my down payment, which is $53.75K. So I'm financing $161,000 here. I'm going to put in 7.5% interest rate right here. And so if I rent this property out as a 4-bedroom for $1,500, I'll be losing $259 a month. And if I bought this property for $215,000 with a $5,000 rehab, just rounding here for easy numbers, 25% down, 7.5% interest rate, that's a negative 4.9%. So that's not a deal, right? So what do you need to buy the property for this to be a deal? Here's what I'll do. Let me lower my asking price to 100 grand, 120 grand, 110 grand. Okay. See what happens to my cash and cash return number? Now, I'm not saying that 10% is the magical number, right? I'm just simply showing you how to adjust the levers to make that number work for you, for what you determine is a deal for you. This is not investment advice. I'm not soliciting any investments on this call. I'm just simply showing you that so that you can play around and not get emotions get involved in this, okay? So I got 110 grand, and now I can cash for $292 a month, assuming everything else stays constant, right? $1,500 for rent, the 10% return, $5,000 rehab, 25% down, 7.5% interest rate. Now, let's say you're watching. The interest rates drop to 6% instead of 7.5%. See what happens to your cash and cash return number? It just jumped to 12.9. So now you might be saying, I can afford to pay 123 grand simply because my interest rate dropped 1.5 points. So I'm going to update that, $3,000. Your ability to pay went up by $13,000 because now your cash flow, that's 9.9% return, and then that's assuming your cash flow 316. Now that was a perfect example of how interest rates affect it, right? So this is again another reason why we're tracking what's happening in the market. Because if you understand how the 30-year mortgage interest rates work, it's really doing what I learned as a slow dance from Housing Wire right here. If you look at the 10-year yield, right, it's affecting the 30-year mortgage interest rate in two ways. One is the actual interest rate of the 10-year treasury yield, which is 4.318 today, and the spread between the 10-year yield and the 30-year mortgage interest rates. Now, historically, that spread was like 1.5 to 2%, but it shot up to 3% at one point. I mean, and that's why interest rates got to like 8%, and that's when the housing market is essentially stopped. But now the spread has narrowed, and interest rates have narrowed. So here's why it matters for the purchase item. If you were refinancing today, you might be looking at properties that were sold in September and October when it was at its lows, about 3.6% for the 10-year yield. But if you're buying properties today, when interest rates are 4.3, it just touched 4.8 just 2 months ago, less than 2 months ago. Well, what happens when interest rates go up? It drives up your monthly payment. It makes housing less affordable, so it drives down pressure, it's downward pressure on prices. So now instead of you thinking that property is going to be worth 100 grand, it might be worth $90,000 because of how interest rates have gone. You just saw an example we just did right now on what our willingness to pay and how high it has shot up. It shot up by $13,000 just simply because the interest rates dropped 1.5%. Big difference. So you might think right now, hey, my interest rate's a little bit higher. Maybe I need to buy with a bigger spread, bigger margin, be a little bit more conservative with my estimates. Those are all valid concerns. But this is why I wanted to show you how you need to be holistic, be well-rounded in how you analyze a deal, because otherwise you could be putting yourself in a very bad position. All right. Hopefully this was helpful, everybody. My goal is I hope you copy my homework today. I hope you analyze the same deal I analyzed today, right? It's right on Redfin. Just came on Redfin 7 days ago. I didn't make this deal up. Use the same spreadsheet, right? Go to affordablehousing.io, not .com, and go to the Get Deal Analysis tool. Plug your name and your phone number. That's the fastest way for you to get a copy of the spreadsheet. And I hope you start your own YouTube channel, because at some point someone's going to ask you, hey, why do you think this is a deal? And you say, I know this is a deal because I've been looking at properties for the past 530 days. Might that give you some confidence that you know what you're doing? I certainly hope so. I hope you all have an amazing Wednesday. Spend some quality time with your family and friends today, because that time is not guaranteed. I can't thank you enough for caring and supporting the Affordable Housing Podcast. Can't thank you enough for supporting all the live streams I've been on, giving me your positive comments. I appreciate it so much.